What's up, folks? Casual Dad here, the quick update for Star Wars X-Wing miniatures. And a real quick shout out to Wayland Games, the blog, for putting together this beautiful little photo shoot here. First edition stuff, which is kind of appropriate talking about sort of the state of the game. But real quick, so we are going into let's backtrack. At the start of 2025, we have three distinct editions of Star Wars: the X-Wing, the miniatures game. First edition, which is the first edition that rolled out that you see pictured here, that is just Empire, Rebels, and Scum. Then we have second edition, which is the arguably the biggest and most popular of the editions, that is now maintained by Legacy 2.0, the Legacy project, that does a really good job of keeping that game up to date with current products and keeping it in that second edition rule set. And then finally, we've got the 2.5 edition, which is in the middle of a bit of a big transformation here. So right now, it is officially supported by Atomic Mass Games. They are still the official owners of the game, still with their license through Lucasfilm, however that goes, Disney, the scary mouse. But then as of Adepticon, 2025 in March. End of March is going to be Adepticon. That is the final officially supported World Championship for X-Wing miniatures that we know about, and that is the end of official support. And truth be told, if you're listening to this and throwing tomatoes at your computer, it's already basically ended. So we have a tournament circuit that's already happening. TOs are still working on it. Communities members are still working on it. There are a lot of people working in that official support circuit, but all physical product is sold out of the main stores. There's nothing else getting manufactured or made. There's nothing else in the works as far as we know. So the game is as officially unofficial as it can be right now before events are over. So there's this big jumping off point after Adepticon 2025 where we don't really know what's going to happen. Except right now, there's a community group, the X-Wing Alliance or XWA, is working together to kind of work on the current rules, massage it out a little bit, and figure out a way to keep it going, continue to develop it, and actually move forward with additional product, which we're going to talk about in a minute. Um, but yeah, so we're in a really interesting spot where it is somewhat difficult to get physical product, which is a bummer. We have a bunch of formal official tournaments going on, but not all of the big events are actually using the point system that Atomic Mass Games is officially supporting. So even the X-Wing Alliance is still using the 2.5 edition of the rules, which is 20 squad points for a squad, and play is with objectives or missions. So they're different objectives things. It's not just shooting, pew pew laser beams. Of course, that's part of it. So that's where we are right now. And I'm really excited for the XWA to take over because I think that they are a really good group of very well-meaning stewards who've been really good and responsible, but also very excited and very organized about how they're supporting the future of the game because they are actively working on points. So there are XWA points, a whole points balance in addition to Atomic Mass Games' official points. We've got AMG points and we have XWA points. Those are the two largest systems right now and the most common ones you're going to see, especially at formal organized events. Now, I bring that up specifically and the fact that we're at this kind of weird transition point because one of the largest tournaments in the world is going on at the time of this recording. I'm recording this on Saturday, the end of day one of the Sith Taker Open in England, and they are using XWA points, not AMG points, which is interesting to see. And another thing too is that opens on full-on extended. So when second edition of X-Wing released, they reboxed and repackaged and kind of rebalanced every single ship, and not all ships from first edition were ever reboxed for second edition. So we've got a lot of ships gathering dust in the official tournament circuit. It was wild today watching some of the streams from the Sith Taker Open. And shout out there to, I'm going to mess it up, Firecast Focus. Firecast Focus on Twitch were the ones streaming the games. They did a great job covering that. I really enjoyed seeing that. But it was wild to see that where every other game I'd be like, wait a minute, why is there a Skurg on the table? What is this tournament? It was just funny seeing those older ships pop back up and very exciting and cool to see. So there we are right now. That's kind of a quick snapshot of where we are. I'm excited for the XWA to take on the reins. We really don't know what's going to happen with official support. This still feels like a big enough, important enough game that it's probably going to continue official support or pick back up at some point down the road somewhere, somehow. We don't know. We'll see. But for now, we're going XWA, and they have an update at the beginning of the year. Oh, actually, they have a Wave Zero tournament kit. So I've talked a little bit about the X-Wing Alliance and the products they're putting out. They are putting together tournament kits that tournament organizers can buy to have official prize support, to have proper prize support for their local events to encourage players to come and play, because swag is a really good incentive to come and play X-Wing competitively. And this is cool. So it's mostly objective markers, which are currently in back order, and then pilot cards. And they've had some other stuff they're working on off and on that we'll see added. And this is the first thing they've ever really put together like this. And so it's mostly pilot cards, the Initiative 6 aces for each individual faction, and these are double-sided. So you've got the pilot card, and then you have an upgrade on the back. So let's see. I think you can see, I forget what it is. Fen Rao is this, and then I won't worry about this too much, but each one has the pilot on the one side, and then an upgrade card for that faction on the other side. So next, and there was a pretty big announcement here. Actually, let's see. Also shout out, I'm all over the place. I'm sorry, I meant to organize this better, but we're also seeing the 312 Squadron do a lot of community organization in the Chicago area, still continue to do streams and be an active part of the XWA, so shout out to them too. I did want to go ahead and highlight this. This was on the Gold Squadron Discord a little bit, I think early this past week, January 30th, so middle of this past week. I'm just going to go ahead and read this off. This is an update from the design team, largely led by Paul Heaver, I believe, and I'm pretty excited. So, welcome to our first preview for the upcoming standard loadout card packs. Ooh, I'll pause there. We're getting a lot of card releases, and another shout out to Infinite Arenas. Jim Bob at Infinite Arenas has been putting together professionally printed cards. So when we get new card packs, we're able to get physical cards to put on the table and play with, which is something I absolutely love. And there is movement behind the scenes to get painted ship models as well. We'll see what happens there. Very excited about that too. We're being very careful about that because of you don't want to poke the scary mouse, Disney. So anyway, we'll be releasing after Adepticon. And so this, I wanted to mention the politeness too, because while XWA points are out and tournaments can choose to use them if they want, the X-Wing Alliance has been very clear that they want to do slow and steady, not do too much that directly conflicts with what AMG is doing. So these aren't going to come out until after March. End of March is Adepticon, and then after that, they'll go ahead and release these. So there's plenty of development has already happened, and then there's still a good bit of development time to come on these. So I'm excited to see this, but we'll be releasing after Adepticon, marking the beginning of the XWA design content for X-Wing. Ooh. We first wanted to make clear that the new content being worked on is still a work in progress. As much as we'd like to share the content in full now, we feel it's best to not show off work that is still being tested. Yeah, that has bitten some of the other companies in the butt quite a bit. We want to give each new piece of content the testing time it needs. Trust us, we're super excited to show you our work, but we ask and appreciate your patience for the time being. Next, a small explanation as to why we decided to start with creating new standard loadout cards for X-Wing. And just to be clear here, the standard loadout is the pilot card that also includes the upgrades on it. So you can't customize the upgrades on it, but usually they get upgrades and abilities they don't have normally or don't have access to normally. So the Battle over Endor, for example, that scenario pack included pilots in it that had upgrades that you can't normally take. And different pilot abilities. So it's a really cool place to give, say, Defender Vader 30 loadout, but spend it in ways that are thematic and fun, but aren't abusable. Because if you just dump loadout on a pilot, then there are really easy ways to cheese it and throw off the entire balance of the game. But with a standard loadout, you can take this portrait of a character in this very thematic, rich way and have it be something that is competitive, sometimes a little bit ahead of the power curve. Hopefully that's why they're testing them. But just a way to fly your favorite pilots and ships, kind of the way they would fly them, which is really cool. So I'm very excited about this. It's a really cool design space. Obviously, there have been times in AMG stewardship where the standard loadouts have been a bit of a problem. So some of them are too powerful and just need some tweaking points-wise, and that tweaking has been slow to happen. So we're seeing faster movement on points tweaking from the XWA, and also their design philosophy has been very focused on making sure nothing rocks the boat too bad. We'll see. We have seen, and I should link to this too, we have seen them already release the standardized loadouts for Epic ships, which is a really cool release. And that was something they could do earlier because there is no official Epic support already, where Atomic Mass Games already stopped support on Epic. So that was kind of more fair game. All right, let's see. Standard loadout cards offer the best path to make new content that has limited interaction with the current content, right? Because it wouldn't be something that's already out there, and it wouldn't impact any existing upgrade cards either. Limited interaction with current content in the game. They're all self-contained outside of any abilities that affect other friendly ships, either from the new standard loadouts or from pilots and upgrades in the game now. With that, it allows us to mitigate the chance these new abilities break the game in some capacity, which we've seen. This doesn't mean we're taking it easy on these in testing. They are being put through the ringer as much as we can. Nice. After determining we wanted to start with standard loadout pilots for our first wave of new content, we looked at where the game they felt the most needed. Two factions stood out immediately. That is Resistance and the First Order, who are a movie-era faction that has no standard loadouts. Right now it is Separatists, Republic, Rebels, Empire all have standard loadouts from the campaign scenario packs, but there are three factions that don't. Resistance and First Order, since neither have received any standard loadouts yet. We know fans of those factions have had a strong desire to receive standard loadouts too. Once recognized, we concluded that Scum shouldn't get left behind. That's the third faction that doesn't have any yet. With just a couple standard loadouts from just one chassis in the YT2400, exactly two, Scum has a vast array of chassis and great opportunities for standard loadout card designs to really expand on their faction's fantasy potential. Not going to touch too much yet. And then next page. New standard loadout packs, First Order, Resistance, and Scum. For both the Resistance and the First Order, we decided to combine the opening scenes from Star Wars The Last Jedi, the First Order's attack on the evacuating Resistance forces at Dakar, and the follow-up chase in the Oechi system, where the Resistance tried to escape and unaware that the First Order could track them through hyperspace. This means that the pack will have pilots such as Poe Dameron and Talisan Lintra leading the MG-100 Star Fortresses, standard loadout Star Fortresses, against the Fulminatrix, while the First Order will have Kylo Ren, more on that in a minute, unleashing the First Order's might against the Raddus. You'll see Resistance forces performing acts of heroism at the cost of their own safety at times, while others may try to save those trying to sacrifice themselves for the cause. I see you, Rose. The First Order, on the other hand, is out for vengeance for what happened to Starkiller Base. With reckless determination, I see what you did there, they will do whatever it takes to bring down every single last ship in the Resistance. For Scum and Villainy, we decided to go with a different approach. Instead of having a pack based on a single scene or battle, we took inspiration from different shows and canon, creating what could be considered an all-star team of the faction. Be still my heart. You will see the famed bounty hunters including Cad Bane and Dengar. Oh my god, Dengar. Notorious characters such as the Mandalorian or Bo-Katan, Grease, that have been both the hunters and hunted. There were pilots in thematic moments and times we wanted to capture for these new standard loadout cards, such as Han Solo during his infamous Kessel Run and Boba Fett during his chapters in the Book of Boba Fett. Okay. That's all we have for today. We hope this first preview of new content the XWA has in store for you brings you some excitement of what's to come. This is just the tip of the iceberg for both our first wave of new content and everything we have in store for farther into the future. We will be unveiling the full cards in the future, so make sure to stay alert. I am so pumped for this. And this is one of those things where, of course, I could sit down and homebrew my own standard loadouts for these guys. I could always do that and break the rules. But having something that's been stress tested, that can get officially printed, that is something that will be familiar to other players is such a massive advantage. I am really very happy to let the team here really take the lead on this, and they will be getting my money. Because whenever these release, they do sell them out, usually through printing through Infinite Arenas, and I'm more than happy to shell out money for both of those teams. And there's a thing about this, especially for Scum and Villainy. When standard loadouts came out, I immediately thought of Scum as the perfect faction for it because they have a ton of ships and pilots, especially somebody like Dengar, that were nerfed straight into the ground at the switch from first edition to second edition and never really recovered. They were hit by every single rules change, every single chassis change, and just all of the averages seem to overly nerf some of the key Scum pilots, particularly Dengar, who's always been one of my favorites. So seeing him on there is amazing. And I understand we don't want them to be too powerful, so you can't just make them too cheap and give them tons of loadout. So giving them the option of a kind of mid-priced standard loadout card that gives them the tools that they should have to be competitive on the table and do the interesting stuff that's key to those characters on the table is going to be amazing. And that's one of the reasons I love Scum so much, is there's so much character in each individual pilot and ship. And I cannot wait to see that brought out in a standard loadout. Now, I hinted a couple times here about determination and a couple other things before, so let's actually take a look at one of these. This was teased during the Firecast Focus stream of the Sith Taker Open today, at the time of recording. This is an early draft of the Evacuation of Dakar Kylo Ren standard loadout card. Similar stats, this is a TIE Silencer, so he's still got the 3 attack dice, 3 evade, 4 hull, 2 shields, 3 force, which I believe the base version has 2, and a different pilot ability. Before an enemy ship in your bullseye arc is dealt a face-down damage card, you may spend 1 force. If you do, that damage card is dealt face up instead. Yikes. So it's Deadeye Shot, but you pay a force to do it. and it's triggered all the time. And it doesn't matter who does the damage. So if it goes through a rock, if it goes through a friendly bump, if it's hit with any kind of damage that goes under shields, you can then spend the force to go ahead and flip that sucker up. So you can do some very serious damage with crits, which does feel very appropriate for Kylo. And he has auto thrusters built in here. After you perform an action, you may perform a red barrel roll or a red boost action. Super cool. I really like that because it gives the TIE silencer. I don't know the silencer very well, so that may actually be built into the chassis. But looking at it, the action bar has all white actions, but none are linked. So yeah, this gives it the option to do a barrel roll boost or a boost barrel roll, which is really phenomenal and a powerful ace. I believe I saw this was confirmed to be 7 points, which is what the base one costs now. Last time I checked. Let's see here. And I'll pull this up just a minute. But the reason I joked about determination is his pilot ability. One of his talents, or his talent, is determination. So I got a real kick out of seeing that referenced directly in the teaser. And I wonder if that was going to be a tongue-in-cheek reference that Paul was going to make later when we got to see this. But it's pretty cool. And Paul's actually on that stream, if you get to catch a recording later, talking a little bit about their design philosophy behind this. XWA News, XWA News. No, this was in, and this is in the First Order chat. I dropped the picture in the First Order chat. I believe Jim Bob is also tracking these releases on the Reddit too, so you can find that there too. Confirmed 7 points, yes. Okay. And Paul said on the stream that they were going to put it at 7 points. So determination reads, while you perform a primary attack, if the defender's in your bullseye, you may suffer 1 damage and to add 1 eyeball result. And again, that's add an eyeball result. So you could go from throwing 3 to 4 dice to throwing 4 to 5 dice if you're at range 1 in and they've got in bullseye, and then you can use malice and that chassis ability to two crits to this thing. Malice reads, while you perform an attack, you may spend 1 force to change 1 eyeball or hit result to a crit result. If you do after you perform that attack, if the defender was dealt 1 or more face-up pilot or crew damage cards, recover 2 force. So this is a really simple, lean, straightforward standard loadout here. You get the extra force, you get the bullseye ability that's got a lot of synergy with your other squad, a lot of incentive to spend force, and then also a way through violence to recover it. And I do really appreciate that the pilot ability feeds directly into Malice because it's more ways to trigger face-up damage cards while you perform an attack. Okay, so it's never mind, doesn't quite work. But yeah, I was thinking that the pilot ability would also trigger Malice, but it would only if you are doing the attack. So whenever Kylo attacks, you have multiple chances to deal face-up cards, so it makes it more likely to recover that force, which is going to be a critical resource, especially since he's spending it. And I love determination as a thing because it is very much in theme, very thematic for Kylo, incredibly powerful, and really makes sense for how he would fly and how this could work. So really good design space here. And then also it's got proton torpedoes in the bottom there. Thematic and proton torpedoes on silencer is gnarly. I don't know if I've ever flown against that, actually. I'm pretty sure they've been able to for a while, but I'm not sure I ever flew against it. I probably have back in the cobwebby old days. But yeah, so this is an early preview. It doesn't have the pilot art on it yet. Still needs a little bit of tweaking and testing, but it feels like a very straightforward standard loadout you could put on the table and just enjoy playing and have that 3-force silencer Kylo. I still am seeing a whole lot more Whisper Kylo, so it's cool to see something that would kind of bring Silencer Kylo back. Except as I say that, I have a little bit of trauma because Kylo Ren is probably my nemesis as one of the AC Triple Force ships that just wrecked my face for much of second edition. So anyway, there's that. Cool to see it, and that's kind of our quick crash course summary of where X-Wing Miniatures is in 2025. As of right now, you can still find a lot of secondhand ships. They're being sold all over the place. A lot of stores still have physical boxes if you go ahead and look. And then one big place I know of that does online orders that has product is Gamers Guild AZ, Arizona warehouse game store in the United States, for those not here. And they've been really good. I've ordered several things from them. I got all of my scenario packs from them, and I want to order a couple other things. So I do recommend them. But just check out your local game stores, talk to other players if you want the stuff. I still think this is a really good time to get into the game because it's a phenomenal game. And even if it ended tomorrow and there's no support from anyone ever, it still is an essentially complete game. And if you can muddle through which rule set you want to play, find a couple people to play with, it's a really great experience, and nothing has taken that away. So anyway, we'll leave it there. Appreciate the time. Yeah, enjoy the recap of Sith Taker Open, and I will be revisiting this. I'm going to do some coverage leading up to Worlds and go ahead and do some meta review and see where lists are, what's winning tournaments, and kind of how to prepare for that. So, until next time.